hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess, and today I wanted to chat about the books that I've read recently. So it's not a lot, so we won't be here super long. These are the ones that I finished, and then at the end I will chat about the book that I am currently reading, or the two books that I'm currently reading. Yes, two. And yeah, I was like, oh, well, it's not a lot. It's not enough for like a wrap up, but I don't care. I'm just gonna talk about them because then later I'll be mad that I didn't. Do you know what I mean? So the first book that I read, so two of these you will have heard of if you did watch the live stream that I did with Mara on our Welcome to Our Open Tabs. But I'm gonna talk about them here anyway because everyone doesn't go over there. So the first one is The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Sherry Frankie. The theme of January has been nonfiction. So that is a memoir by Sherry Frankie. Her mother is Ruby Frankie. If any of you have ever heard of the 8 Passengers family YouTube channel, Sherry was the oldest daughter, and her mother was recently arrested last year along with the therapist for the family. After her younger siblings escaped from the house they were basically being held prisoner in and abused. They weren't being fed, all these things. So Sherry wrote a memoir because she was on camera for many years as part of her mother's YouTube channel, and then Sherry also ended up starting her own. So she's only, I think, maybe turning 22 in March, so she's very young. And something about the Frankies they are a Mormon family and live in Utah. I always find this so difficult with nonfiction, but I go into more depth on the Welcome to Our Open Tabs episode, which I can link, because I don't want to give away the entire story if you were wanting to read it. I do think that she did have a co-author, but I think that her and her co-author did a really good job. And it seems like Sherry's been writing for a while because she does reference from journals that she kept as she was young. So I think they did a really good job. I thought it was well written. She was a good audiobook narrator. And I was engaged. I know reading some other people's reviews, they felt like it jumped around. It didn't get as in-depth as they wanted. It wasn't as scandalous as they wanted. But I think for where she is in her life, how close she still is to the situation, and her youth, only being 21, I still think this was a really well-written story, and it makes sense for where she is. I think it would be interesting if in 5 to 10 years she wrote another memoir, or she went on Mormon Stories, and you know, we could see where she was then. But like, this makes sense. And also as a young person who was forced to be on camera for their mother's YouTube channel, because that's a massive thing right now, is so many people who are exploiting their children for money. I have never understood the allure of family channels. I guess families watch them. I don't know. I've never watched one, but I guess I'm guilty because I've watched reality TV with children, or used to. But that was just never something that was my kind of YouTube content. I don't watch it on TikTok either. Don't like it. But so she does talk about that, and having to, like, the different voices, like she knew when her mom was recording because of the different like pitch of her voice, and things that were embarrassing for her as a teenager that were captured on camera and put out there they were making millions off this channel, the parents were. And just the abuse, the emotional abuse, how she, I think an overarching theme is really that she never felt like loved by her mother. And I think her mother has her own trauma that she brought into her being a mother. And then of course we get into Jody, the therapist that comes in, and how that just devolves, and how her dad gets kicked out of the house, and the weird relationship between the therapist and her mother. And we do hear about her brother Chad, who was the next, I think she was the oldest and then Chad, but she does not name or talk about her younger siblings, which I really appreciated. She said, like, you know, they've been exploited enough, no need to, this is about me, this is not about them. So some people, I think, really wanted more about what happened to them, but she was like, they deserve a childhood, and if one day they want to tell their story, they can do that. So I think if you're curious about reading from someone who is a mommy vlogger child, that it's worth reading if you have any interest in, you know, people in the Mormon faith, especially if you knew about the case with Ruby and Jody Hildebrandt. It's worth reading. Yeah, I think those are worth reading, and she does share some other things that we didn't learn from either the channel or from the case, that were very personal, and I think that she should be applauded for being able to share that story. It was very heartbreaking, and even if you aren't Mormon, just being a young woman, I think you can relate to just a lot of the things she talks about, especially if you didn't have a good relationship with your mother. I think it can be relatable even if you're older. So I don't rate memoirs, but I thought it was really well done. Again, for how young she is, I know she did have a co-author, and how close she is to the situation. There are some things and the way she feels, and obviously that is her lived experience, that is her life and her choices she's going to make, that I think if I was in the situation I would feel differently. But again, I chalk that up to her age and that her wanting to still have some family, and who knows what may change. I hope that if she does not want to be in the spotlight, that she never has to be in the spotlight again. But if she does want to, I really hope it's on Mormon Stories. Later, 5 to 10 years, if maybe she's had some different thoughts and change of heart, and just the space to look back on the situation differently. So I think it's well worth your time to read that one. Now, on the other hand, there's another memoir that I read that I don't think is worth your time reading. And that sounds so cruel. And so obviously read it if you want to, but it's Bad Mormon by Heather Gay. I only read this because I do watch Real Housewives. I watch, although I'm behind on this season, of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and that's the show that she's on. But I feel like maybe if you are a Mormon who's recently left the church, this may be good for you, because I really question who the audience of this memoir is, because if you're a fan of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, you're not going to get a lot of that, and if you already watched it, you already know a lot that she does tell, because she's, you know, shared that on the show. And so if you want like insight on her castmates, her relationships with them, stuff what happened with Jen before she got arrested, you're not going to get that. It's very small a part of the book. And I don't know if this was co-authored. To me personally, it didn't work because there were just so many, like, she would just try to throw in so many like quotes from movies or songs, and so many metaphors. And I was like, okay, like metaphors work, but you're overdoing it. Okay, one of her castmates and the person that she's talking about, her name is Whitney Rose. Okay, so here's some of the lines. This wild rose was not scared to handle a little prick. She knew all of Victoria's secrets, and I had things to learn. In a town of beauties and beasts, there was only one wild rose, and she was blooming. Why? Why? And I just felt like, although she's 50, I think, that she's still... Age does not equate to a good memoir, and that she still has a lot of deconstructing to do, because she is, you know, she calls herself Bad Mormon because she does do things that are, you know, against the Mormon faith. You know, obviously you watch the show, she's drinking and swearing and all of these different things, but although she's talking about a lot of her past, it sounds like it still comes out of a place of reverence for the Mormon faith still. Like, there are some things that she felt constrained by, like she couldn't be her full self, which makes sense, but that she still overwhelmingly thinks the Mormon religion is a positive thing. And maybe that's just my interpretation of it, but it didn't read to me like someone who was like, I've left the Mormon church because it was harmful. It's like, well, I like most of it, but they really didn't condone this, and I didn't want to wear those garments, so I'm out of it, but I still really like this. Like, the part of how she felt after she had been, or at least distancing herself from the faith, but saw a Mormon missionary at the airport. I don't know, it was just weird to me. It's funny out of reading this whole thing, because again, I talked about this on the Welcome to Our Open Tabs with Mara. is a part I don't hear a lot of people talking about, and I'm like, and again, watching the show, people, her castmates have things to say about the book, and I'm like, y'all obviously didn't read the book, because if y'all had read the book, you would have had more to say about this certain thing that happened, okay? And if you don't want to read the book, I'll tell you, spoiler in 3, 2, 1. So she talks about one of her hobbies was photography, and she had turned that into a business for a while. She was doing boudoir photography, and Whitney, who on the show we know is her cousin, I don't know if it's first, second, third, but they met each other through another one of Heather's businesses, and then found out like they are from a certain family, so that they're cousins. And that she did a boudoir shoot for Whitney, and was just like, there's a lot of uncomfortable things in that part of the chapter, but that Whitney had on these very small undies, and she eventually like took them off for the shoot, and that Heather at the end of the night picked up those underwear and put them in her pocket, because she's like, you never know when you need a pirate's eye patch, because she was referring to the underwear being so small it was basically like an eye patch. And I feel like that part is weird. And I don't understand why Whitney wasn't mad about that part. But no one seems to be talking about that. So I'm like, did anybody read this book, really? Because I heard that and I had to rewind, and I was like, what? I don't know. But if you want like some big ex-Mormon story, or again, you want a lot about the Real Housewives, you're not going to get either of those. And if you've watched the Real Housewives, you know a lot of what happened. There's just like more explanations on her marriage, and you know what was happening during that, and what led up to the divorce, and then obviously like her life growing up. But it just seemed like it was pretty good. There were some ups and downs, but I don't know, I feel like she didn't need to write a memoir, and then she has a second one for what? I don't know what else there would be to say, but you know, if you want to read it, that's up to you. But lastly, my last nonfiction book that I finished this month is Takedown: Inside the Fight to Shut Down Pornhub for Child Abuse, Rape, and Sex Trafficking. I don't know if YouTube's gonna let me keep any of those words in, but the title is up here. And so I saw Ashley from Bookish Realm, or Realm of Comics, reading this. Like, I saw it on Goodreads, and I was like, huh, what's that? And so I went to it and was reading some like reviews first, and people were like, this is not an okay, pause. I know a lot of people use the word corn, and I hate that because I love corn. Not that I'm against, but I am not going to use that word. But I know that if I use it too much, it's probably gonna get flagged. So like, I don't know, thorn? I don't know. I hate that we can't say certain words. That's weird. But this is not an anti-thorn book. It's about the harmful content that is up on this website and a lot of others. I learned a lot from this, because obviously I know what Hub is. I didn't realize how many other websites were under this, and I didn't realize the popularity of it amongst the world. Like, it's like one of the world's top 10 websites or something, and so how much money they're making. And so the author, I really applaud her for her diligence and just her crusade that she went on through this story of trying to get this content taken down. And she finds out that essentially you can just really upload anything there. There's no verification of who the person is in the video. There's no age verification. Like, it goes up pretty quick. And she goes, I mean, she does a lot of getting in contact with people, finding out about their moderators and how much content they're supposed to go through per hour, and that they don't always listen to the content with sound or watch the content with sound on. And some of these videos are very clearly people being, and it is not consensual, and if you were listening to it, you could hear that. Or just the amount that they have to get through and the amount of people they have working, it's just not possible to go through and moderate it all. She spends so much time finding this content, so she's having to watch it, so it's very like damaging to her mentally, but also her taking screenshots of like the hyperlinks and all of this stuff, but like making sure she doesn't get that a screenshot of the content, because then she would be in possession of that content, and like calling them out and them saying that they will have videos taken down, but like the URL is still up, because they're still able to monetize when people are searching for that stuff, that these videos are downloadable. I did not know that. how people would find their videos, usually girls, and they're underage, that somebody put on there, you know, as revenge, and would ask to get it taken down. And though nobody had to verify anything for the video to be put up, they had to verify their identity, that they were underage for it to be taken down. It is wild. The amount of work that she did, all the people that she worked with, it's incredible. I think it's definitely worth listening to. And again, I was floored by how many of the reviews were like, I can't believe, because she makes it a point to be like, this is not against Thorn itself. If it's between two consenting adults who want to do these things and want it up on the internet, that is different than these people who are obviously being assaulted, etc., etc. And some people were mad that she made that distinction, because they're like, no, it's all evil. This Thorn is the reason that there's violence perpetuated against women, and it encourages that. It's harmful. A lot of people were really mad at that, and I think that it was great that she made that distinction, because I don't think we should be coming after that type of adult content. If adults want to do that, that is fine. If you don't want to watch it, that is fine. But her thing was, there are harmful videos on here, on this website, thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of videos on this website, where these people are making all of this money, and people's abuse is being spread far and wide and downloaded on how many people's computers. So one of my favorite parts was, there was this like civil trial, I think in Canada at one point, and oh my god, I was living, because these dudes who were like the higher ups or whoever of the parent company, they were being asked these questions and they didn't come prepared at all, and I just loved, they were being read for filth. Like, so you were coming here, you knew you were going to be questioned today, and you didn't think to like have these statistics or these answers, and they're like, I don't know. Yeah, so shout out to I think it's Lila Micklethwait, because I know this took a huge toll on you. And, you know, she would talk about the sacrifice she had to make in, you know, not spending time with her husband and her kids, and just all of the things she went through. And that there ended up being this billionaire dude, I forgot his name, who ended up helping her, because one of the big things was getting the major credit card companies to not partner with them anymore. And I was like, a billionaire doing good? You're still a billionaire, so shady. But I'm like, why can't there be more of you who use their power, their weight to like help a good cause? So I think it's a very interesting read, that you should read it. And I would love to know your thoughts if you have read this or the other two memoirs. What did you think? But that's what I finished. I'm currently listening to Mad Ship by Robin Hobb, which is the second in the Live Ship Trader series. I'm like 75% through. I will say this one has been more of a struggle for me than the Ship of Magic or Ship of Magic. And Mad Ship, it took like almost 40% for me to start feeling invested. Like, it just felt like there was all of the POVs, and we added another one, and I was like, okay, when is stuff gonna start happening? And then it did start happening, and now I am more invested and want to know what happens. But I will say, in the first book, I was rooting for one person. In this one, I'm rooting for no one. Nope. Everyone gets on my nerves. Everyone can kick rocks. I know everyone's not going to have bad or ill come to them, but I wish it. But I'm still invested to know what happens, but I'm not rooting for no damn body. So hopefully I'll finish that this week. And then I've also started one called When McKinsey Comes to Town, about this consulting firm, McKinsey, and I'm already pissed, 20% in, not that far, it's a nonfiction. My camera battery is dying, so let me know your thoughts. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.